we have a couple of Q&As that you don't want to miss. It's really all about digital transformation. We had great examples here coming from two very exciting brands. The first one comes from the media and publishing industry, and the other one will, well, comes from the game industry. So these are very, very different cases that I'm sure we'll be very excited to learn more about. The first one is The Guardian. I'm sorry I have to say it because it's come over a massive change in the recent years. In case you don't know it, you will learn more about that. And yeah, just let's start. If you want to ask questions, yes, make sure that you use our mobile app, you know, the interact section. I know that you already do it, but this is a moment where at the end, you know, we may have one or two questions. And I think that's it. So to do this on stage, we have a great friend, a writer and broadcaster, Ali May. Please welcome him.
Hello. I hope nobody is snoozing after lunch. Can I ask you for a little favor? I want you to all stand up, please, and hold your mobile phones as high as possible with the screens on towards me. We are going to beat that Ellen's selfie thing. Come on. Thank you very much. Uh-oh, sorry. One more time. This is a tech summit, right? Thank you very much for that. OK, I have tweeted that, and my handle is Ali May TV. So let's get retweeting. Let's beat Ellen. So today, I'm privileged to have Tanya Cordrey here, who's the Chief Digital Officer of The Guardian. I'm going to give you a very quick rundown of what The Guardian is. The newspaper started in 1821 in Manchester, of all places. So almost 200 years. 20 years ago, The Guardian was the 7th largest newspaper in the UK. But as you know, circulation of newspapers have been dwindling for the past few years. So the circulation of The Guardian is about 300,000 per day now. However, there's a very interesting figure I want to give you now. Today, Guardian's unique visits every month is about 115 million. That puts it neck to neck with New York Times. And these two newspapers at the moment are probably the, what do we call them? Top of the world quality newspapers league. So, as you know, The Guardian does excellent, brave journalism, but I think for the success, that number, it also owes it to the digital people, because it has been at the forefront of digital world. Now, Tanya, let's start with a very easy question.
Okay. You
wake up one morning and you say, OK, I'm going to transform a 200-year-old newspaper. Where the hell do you start?
Well, hindsight is a great thing. So today we're in this amazing position where we've actually done the transformation, I'd say, pretty darn well. There's more to do. So in terms of what have contributed to that success, there are many things I could talk about, but I'm probably going to highlight 3. So the first one is, I think, The Guardian was really early on the web. So probably 1995 was when we did our first website. And very early on, The Guardian decided to run towards digital. There was no debate whether it was a good thing or a bad thing. It was just, it's a brilliant thing, and we're going to do it, and we're going to do it well. So there's no kind of internal machinations and angst about it. We embraced it. The second thing I'd probably highlight is around 4 years ago. And I, at that point, took over product engineering and data at The Guardian, and we sort of caused a mini revolution. In many ways, I think the digital transformation was like putting a pebble in a puddle, and you can sort of see the ripples. And what we did is that in very short order, we decided that we had to make sure we had the right digital people. So we started recruiting people from Google, Shazam, eBay, Skype, BBC, lots of fantastic digital people. So we got a critical mass very, very quickly. We introduced new disciplines like product management, user experience research, and we also introduced completely different ways of working. We set up small, self-empowered teams, cross-functional, they sat together, they were data-driven, and we sort of gave them license to create magic, and that was really fantastic. The third thing I would highlight is really about the journalism. And I think we understand at The Guardian, and we're very privileged to understand at The Guardian, that our journalism today is more relevant than it's ever been before. And the power of digital means that more people read our content than ever before. So as you mentioned, 300,000 people a day will read the newspaper, 7, 8, 9 million uniques a day will read our website or content from our apps, etc. And so we've kind of really embraced the fact that digital means that our voice is so much louder. So we've really concentrated very hard on doing what we do best, which is amazing journalism. And we've worked exceptionally hard alongside that to make sure the world hears it, whether WikiLeaks, whether phone hacking, or dare I say Snowden.
You say you attracted a lot of talent from the big companies out there, but I think that's also quite hard, isn't it? Because you will not essentially, as a media company, be the highest payer. So how do you basically overcome that challenge?
So you're right, we're not the best payers in the world, I have to admit that. But to say that, we don't aim to be the worst payers. We're probably somewhere in the middle. So actually, I think we're in a very lucky position at The Guardian, because my experience is that talented people want to work with other talented people, and they like tackling really difficult problems. And you know, solving the future of news on the web, well, they don't come more difficult than that, or more exciting, or more challenging. So we found that attracting people hasn't necessarily been as difficult as we had feared, because The Guardian has an amazing mission, and those sort of people are really attracted by what The Guardian does.
I guess another problem that you might have is appeasing journalists. Because journalists are not, I'm an ex-journalist, or I still do a bit of journalism. I know that the newsrooms can be quite difficult. So how do you get them to sing along with your everyday new products and developments?
So I have to confess that I started life as a journalist too, and I think that's actually been very helpful in terms of what we've been trying to do in digital transformation. I mean, the thing is that the lesson we've learned is that you can't do digital transformation in isolation. I have this amazing job title, Chief Digital Officer, but it's not my responsibility alone to be pioneering digital. It's everybody's responsibility. So we have to work very closely with the newsroom. And if you look at the type of work we've done, a lot of our efforts have been not just around making the experiences better for our users, but making experiences better for the journalists. So we've built amazing real-time analytics. That means the journalists today in the Guardian newsroom can see the heartbeat of their stories on the web, where the traffic's coming from, how is it performing, where the traffic's going to. We've also done a lot of effort on the content management systems. That sounds, for many people, probably a very dry and boring thing to do, but actually the truth is, in order to become digital, we have to help the journalists become digital, and they're under constant pressure to now sort of do search engine optimization and social and headlines that fit for mobile, etc., etc. The list goes on. So we've spent a lot of time building amazing tools, and we've built them with the journalists, sitting next door to them, building these tools.
You answered one question there, so good.
Yeah, but it's just really helping them do their job so much better. And as a result, we get a lot of, you know, get a bit of credibility, and they love the fact that we've done that.
Okay. Excuse me. One of the biggest things that you have done on the reign of the Guardian's digital side is you basically moved guardian.co.uk to theguardian.com.
Yes.
Now, it might sound a very small thing, a very small difference. However, if you realize that 40% of your clicks come through Google, and basically by changing that, all your SEO is down the drain. Was that basically, did people tell you that you're committing some sort of digital suicide, or were they supportive? How did that come about?
So I'm not sure I'd ever want to do it again. I think that's fair to say. So you're right. It looks like a small URL change, but it is a massive engineering challenge. And this is one of the great privileges of working at The Guardian. So I think it goes without question the bravery of our journalism. But that's really infectious. And what's really incredible is that for those of us who don't work on the editorial side, we feel brave and courageous to take decisions where others wouldn't as well. And the domain move is a perfect example of that. So we know that our traffic now, 2/3 of it, if not more, now comes from outside the UK. We're a global company. We have offices in New York, we have offices in Australia, and we have a huge global audience that's growing day after day after day. And we realized that having a .co.uk URL didn't really represent us as well as it could or should. But the truth is, many companies who have kind of local domain names and don't have .coms are too scared to move because, as you say, the consequences are significant. You can kill a company if you do this lightly. So we knew strategically that we wanted to do it. We knew strategically it was the right thing to do. And we knew we had in place an amazing team of engineers and product people. So if anybody could make this happen, they could. So we took the incredible step. We took a deep breath, and we did it. Because we felt brave. And what's amazing about The Guardian is that I think many other senior management teams, when I looked at my peers around the table, many others would have said, you're crazy, we're not going to do this. But again, what's really incredible, you turn around to the folks at The Guardian, whether it be the journalist or the other execs, and you say, never in the history of the internet has anybody moved a domain as large as we're going to move. You know, say that at The Guardian, everybody just loves a challenge. So they decided to be really supportive and get behind us. So it was fantastic. And what's been amazing, that since we've done it, many, many, many companies are now beginning to do it, because it turns out there were, I hate to think, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of companies that were too scared to do it. And we've got the Mail Online moving to the .com any week now, so we're watching with interest, because it's nice to see that others are now following our lead.
A very interesting point that you mentioned is about the 2/3 of your 115 million, over 75 million of the monthly uniques come from outside the UK.
Yes.
So I'm guessing that should be a massive challenge for your advertising monetization side, isn't it?
We view that as an amazing opportunity.
Oh, okay.
So what's really fantastic is that we've had phenomenal growth in our digital revenues, actually. And obviously a lot of that, in part, has been driven by the UK. But now we're getting to a size in the US, we've got to a size in Australia, where now those revenues in those countries is really picking up with a fantastic velocity. So where we can grow these audiences that reach critical mass, we're getting better at monetizing them. And we're excited about doing that, actually.
And something very interesting, again, about The Guardian's digital side is it's just continually progressing, and there are all new products and developments, including your new website, which you have launched in the US and Australia at the moment, launching soon elsewhere.
Yes.
So
yes.
What are the main features? Why are you changing the website?
So we embarked on the decision to change the website because our users are changing. And actually what they demand today is very different from what they demanded yesterday. And the website that we had, which was great in many ways, but it wasn't built for today's world. So a lot of it's not even very mobile friendly. So we undertook some work at the beginning of this project to really understand people's needs, and we discovered that there were some certain things that people wanted that they didn't think that we were as good as we should be. So, for example, was the content easy to find? Was the layout simple and as clear as people would want it? And was the website as fast as they wanted it? So speed's a really interesting one. Again, that's something might sound to many people in this room a bit dry and dusty, but e-commerce companies discovered a long time ago that if you shave milliseconds off your page loading time, magic happens with your revenue. And so we found from our research into the Guardian users is that they wanted super fast news site. So we have worked incredibly hard, and I think it's fair to say now the Guardian website, the new Guardian website, is blazingly fast. And we were very excited because one of the Google's top developer evangelists earlier in the year, he did a piece of research and he published a list of basically the world's news sites ranked in speed. And we were number one. We were faster than Mashable, we were faster than TechCrunch, we were faster than BuzzFeed, and they're pure digital plays. So we're very proud of that.
I'm sorry, we have a very short time. I'm so rushing through some of the questions that I have. Another question I have for you is, let's say we have CDOs and leaders in this audience. What would be your top tips for running that side of the business well?
So, oh gosh, my top tip. My top tip is you've got to take everybody along with you. So I think we've achieved amazing things at The Guardian because we've taken the organisation with us. And don't get me wrong, it's a bumpy ride at times because transformation is transformation. But the thing is that you can only go as fast as the organisation wants you to go. So my role has been to persuade, cajole, you know, occasionally thump the table to make us do what we need to do. So my advice to anybody is look around the table at all your stakeholders and just sort of make sure you take them along with you.
Probably one of my last questions. Basically, a few years ago when... hello, Ben.
Hello.
When
I joined you.
Welcome.
Tablets came to market, we were all thinking, oh no, it's doom and gloom, papers are dying, blah, blah. But today it's a different story. So if you want to put it in perspective and tell us how you see the future of media and newspapers, where does it stand? It's not yet the ball point.
Oh, okay. Gosh, the future of newspapers is the final question. So one of the things we're really excited about is that tablets haven't been quite as we expected. So we were thinking that tablets in many ways would replicate a sort of newspaper type experience. And we've seen sales of tablets soften against expectations. But what is really exciting for us is that's emerging is that there's very different modes and behaviours beginning to emerge. So people use their smartphones very early in the morning for headlines. They're using desktop at lunchtime when they're at work for getting the news. And then tablets in the evening really come into play when people are looking for analysis and context and features, etc. So we're beginning to see this very fragmented behaviour, which I think you'll begin to see lots of new news providers probably aiming for specific niches, and lots of organisations like us trying to make sure we cover everything.
Now, you might have seen me going around with my crystal ball at LeWeb and getting people to stare at it and tell me in one tweetable sentence their vision of the future. So I think that's what we're going to do with Tanya now.
Yeah, I'm going to ask one of those.
The crystal ball.
You'll be looking into the crystal ball and telling me what's the future of
I feel I need to say I'm going to see a tall, handsome stranger or something like that. So what would I say in the crystal ball? I think 2015 is going to be the year where we see more control passed to our users. And I think that could be their data, that could be the type of content they consume, or it could even be the layout and the design of websites. I think users are demanding more control, and I think nobody's really innovating boldly in that area at the moment.
Thank you very much indeed, and I will hand you over to Ben.
I have just one question because we're already out of time, so I just want to make sure we can take one question from the audience.
Certainly.
There are like tons of them, so please, they will reach out to you through Twitter, no?
Exactly. T. Cordrey, feel free to ping me a note on Twitter.
There's tons of them, so I mean, this is why the topic is so exciting for everybody. Let's take the one that is the most popular right now. What would you advise to a local journal that missed the digital switch as older newspaper subscribers and want to go to digital in order to survive?
So can I just make sure I understand that? So what does a sort of journalist, a newspaper journalist who wants to make the switch now? Gosh, it's never too late. So it's never been a more exciting time to work in news. There are more people reading news, there are more types of startups, there's more innovations around devices. So I would feel very depressed if anybody thinks they've missed the boat, because frankly, all of us are learning every day of every week. So beware anybody who thinks they've already got it cracked, because frankly, none of us have got it cracked yet.
Wow, thank you very much.
You're welcome, thank you.
Thank you, Tanya.
Please thank Tanya.